All right, let's wait for a couple of people to join. All right, welcome to MB and Beyond, guys. Welcome to our coffee session with Nishkarsh tonight. We're going to be talking about MIM, everything that you need to know to go for later rounds, and also if you're considering early rounds next year, what the strategy should be. Everything around MIM is going to be covered tonight. Our agenda for tonight is going to be introduction to Masters in Management. We're going to be comparing it for MBA. I know a lot of you are confused between deferred MBA or MIM, so we're going to be talking about that as well. Top schools offering MIM programs, eligibility and requirement for the MIM, timelines and way forward. And then eventually, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat section here. We are going to be taking them up towards the end of the session. Our speaker tonight is Nishkarsh Jakhar. He's a master's candidate at Harvard Law School. He's had immense experience, more than 4 years of experience in capital markets division at Cyril Merchant, which is one of the largest firms in the country. He's represented investment banks and companies on various equity and debt offerings and noteworthy transactions, including IPOs for unicorns, something that just went live. You all know about it, Zomato and Policy Bazaar. He's not only done his own applications himself, bagged a bunch of scholarships across different schools for masters. He's also helped a lot of applicants make it through to top schools. At MBA and Beyond, he helps deferred MBA applicants and MIM applicants evaluate their profiles and know where they stand and help them in their journey forward. So if later you're interested in having a connection and having a conversation with Nishkarsh, we'll be dropping in a few links later down in the links below, so you can click on them and then you can definitely go and schedule a session with Nishkarsh. All right, welcome on board, Nishkarsh. Over to you. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Paridi. Welcome everyone to the session. We feel like it's a significant step that you are thinking about an education in management at a relatively lesser work experience level, and there are definitely programs catering to your needs. MIM programs. So let's dive into MIM programs generally for a bit, and then we'll go on to some specifics. So MIM programs initially started across Europe and are very popular in France, Spain, and Italy, but are increasingly becoming popular in the US as well because of the huge explosion in the need for lower level management jobs across a host of multinational corporations as well as other organizations. So naturally, it's become the preferred option for a lot of undergraduate students or people who have lesser years of experience, say 0 years of experience to 2.5 years of experience. Typically, it can go to 3 years of experience, but that will depend from school to school. Uh, However, most schools are willing to take candidates who've had no full-time work experience prior uh, to joining the MIM itself. The duration for these programs generally tends to be on the shorter side as compared to traditional MBA programs, which is to say that these programs last for 12 to 18 months on an average. However, there is one thing that we should note on this, which is that a lot of these programs allow for a 1 year break in between where students can intern at reputed companies and related positions for their interest, and that goes a long way in cultivating the skills that MIM programs seek to offer for candidates. Uh, Now, onto the coursework that students generally go through as part of the MIM program. This will be based on generally development of business fundamentals. So the coursework tends to be a little bit more on the theoretical side as compared to the MIM. That said, there are specific courses that deal with case studies and problem solving even at the MIM level. So that should not be a consideration while choosing an MIM program. Most of these programs adapt every year and change their coursework regularly so as to cater to the needs of uh, the companies that are recruiting as well as on the market, as to how candidates are performing in the market. So that said, what are the advantages of the MIM, right? It's a great option for students who are in their final year of undergraduate, who are looking for opportunities at lower level management jobs across the best companies in the world. Many companies are seeing the need to hire people who have knowledge of management domains. Uh, there are career options that are available across multiple domains here. Some of these examples naturally being advertising, public relations, marketing management, human resources. There are also some of the industries where this course is hugely popular. For example, if you want to work uh, with a fashion house in Paris, uh, the ESSEC course is really popular for that. They have specific chairs that cater to those needs. Uh, some schools also, like the traditional MBA, also offer the opportunity to travel the world and take courses from different locations where the program may be situated. Uh, Principal courses that offer this would be Duke, ESSEC, ESCP, Grenoble, and even IE. So then let's move on to the next part, which is, should I do the MBA if I can do, should I do the MIM if I can do the MBA 4 years or 5 years or 6 years down the line, right? Uh, a lot of candidates, and there have been surveys on this as well. A lot of candidates who have done the MIM increasingly do not feel the need to do an MBA later on down the line. What they do feel is that they might consider doing an executive MBA, which is further later on in their careers. So that's something to keep in mind. But given what I said earlier about the opportunities that are opening up in the space for lower level management jobs, this is a great way to enter the workforce, fight for those jobs, and you can stick around long enough and not need an MBA itself. Uh, as for the return on investments, uh, the average salaries for MIM programs are rising constantly because of the constant need for graduates from these programs. So the weighted salaries for these programs range between USD $80,000 to USD $120,000. Uh, One more important thing to remember here is that considering these salaries, the return on investment on the MIM program is significantly better as compared to the return on investment on the MBA program, because the cost of the MIM program tends to be less than half of what the MBA costs. The duration is shorter, and if you are willing to study abroad and work abroad at a relatively younger age, then this is a great option for you. So we'll move on to the next part, and this is basically a list of all the top schools that offer the MIM program. Increasingly, and a lot of other schools, especially in the US, are considering the program. So we will see a significant growth in terms of what schools are offering these programs. But as of now, the top programs still happen to be in Europe, because a lot of the top candidates end up applying to these programs as well. So you have University of St. Gallen, that's situated in Switzerland. The program has a very low intake. It has an intake of about 55 students. Then you have HEC Paris, uh, you have LBS, you have ESSEC, you have ESCP, which is a very different course in that classes take place across 6 nations, and so it really gives an opportunity to the candidates to travel the world and receive a truly global business education in that sense. Now there's Rotterdam in the Netherlands, there's Smurfit in Ireland, there's IE in Spain, which is a great option for a lot of uh, students who have done their undergraduate degrees in engineering, and because the focus at IE tends to be a lot on technology and engineering, There is STA Bocconi, which is the premier MIM program in Italy, and then there's ESAT. Um, in the US, the MIM program has been established recently. So you have Kellogg that's offering the MIM program. There's a couple of programs that Duke University also offers. One of them, notably, is actually a STEM program. So it does give you that benefit of getting to stay in the US for an additional 24 months to look for opportunities. Uh, Michigan Ross also offers this program, and so does Georgetown University. So it's important to understand as to why schools in the US may be relevant for MIM profiles, right? Uh, One is the fact that they give you access to the community and the alumni of these reputed US schools, which in itself is a great benefit. And two, the fact that they happen to be great programs at a lesser cost at the same business schools. Uh, Three, being the advantage through a STEM enabled course in that respect, right? Which gives you the option that you can spend additional time looking for opportunities that you're specifically looking for. That said, for most of the MIM programs across Europe and the US, most of the students, and I'm talking about 90 to 95%, they end up getting placed within 3 months of their graduation. So placement figures and placement statistics tend to be on the favorable side for a lot of the MIM programs, and that is not something that candidates should worry about. We'll move on to the next one. And so let's discuss what are the typical application requirements in the case of MIM programs, right? It's very typical to the MBA program in that you may require a GMAT or a GRE score. Sure, there are waivers available for some of the universities, which may be relevant for uh, students who haven't given the GMAT and want to be applying right now. There would be Imperial, there's Warwick, there's the University of Edinburgh, there's Schulich in Canada, which is a very famous business school that offers a GMAT waiver for MIM applicants, and then there's NUS Singapore. However, you would still need to go through the exhaustive application process, which would comprise of the essays, the recommendations, the resume, and TOEFL if it cannot be waived. For most Indian students, the TOEFL requirement can be waived since they will have their undergraduate education completely in English. Uh, One important thing to see here is that recommendations play a crucial role, and so do the essays. That's because of the fact that uh, MIM adcoms do not have enough real world experience to go by, uh, which is not the case with MBA applicants since they tend to have 3 to 4 or more years of work experience behind their back by the time they're applying. So your essays, your activities, they go on to play a very crucial part in whatever school you're targeting, right? So we'll move on to the next one, and here we'll just briefly discuss about what it takes to make it to a top MIM program, considering the increasing competition now. Just one thing to highlight: all of the links that we are sharing, which you can see below on the screen, are available in the chat section. So, in case if you want to access those, that can be accessed from there. Um, so, what does it take to make it to a top MIM program? Definitely a good GMAT score. And while waiver is available to have a shot at the best schools, you need to have a very good GMAT score. Uh, Good academic credentials, which would mean that GPA and other academic qualifications or courses that you may have completed should be highlighted to the adcoms. We have seen that some candidates are worried about a lower GPA in college. However, that can be a result of a lot of factors, such as a lower GPA in the very first semester or in the first year, right? So, if you have a growth trajectory that's going up, across on the GPA graph, then that plays in your favor, and would definitely be favorable for a lot of candidates if they have concerns around the lower GPA in total. Diversity of experiences. Lesser emphasized but extremely important. You will need to show that you possess all of the relevant skills that tie in with the value system of that school. Examples being leadership skills, networking skills, organizational skills. Now, you can show these through internship experiences, through your participation in extracurriculars, as well as active participation in community initiatives, uh, such as work with an NGO, or work on a specific cause where you may have played a role. Uh, Crucial point being highlighting anecdotal evidence of the work that you may have done, not merely mentioning the fact that you had participated in something that led to enhancement of those skills. So it may be relevant to pick out specific instances where you may have uh, where you may have demonstrated those skills within that particular task, right? Moving on, I think strong. Sorry, if we can go back to the previous slide. Strong leadership experience definitely preferable. B schools are uh, looking for leaders. Sure, they want to prepare leaders, but they're also looking for an instinctive leadership skill, which comes through a lot of the experience that applicants may have had during their time at undergraduate university, or even having led some of the projects, some projects involving community initiatives. Heading a college fest, for instance, could be a good example. uh, International exposure also goes a long way in making for a good application, because it goes on to show that the student is well equipped to deal with perspectives coming from different parts of the globe, and is able to uh, hold his opinion and learn from the experiences of others. Now, the last two are really important in that sense for an MIM application, something that would really make your application stand out. It would be a clear understanding of what your goals are, of what you intend to do post the MIM, as well as in the longer term, and definitely an alignment of what the school needs from its candidates, vis-a-vis what your values are and how you have enhanced those values through a lot of your experiences during undergraduate, or even school for that matter, right? So while MIM programs are available to uh, candidates with none of your years of experience, there are some schools that have started making prior work experience a priority as well. One noteworthy example here being London Business School, for which a typical cohort will have had at least 6 months of experience. There are definitely outliers depending on the quality of the application. And it is you are still eligible to put in that application, but it's just a trend that we are seeing increasingly. If you do have internship experiences during your undergraduate, which has spanned 6 months or more, it is definitely a plus point to be highlighting those. We can move on to the next one, and let's look at so now what, right? We know about the process, we know about the general skill set that may be required, we know about the top schools, but now what? We're towards the end of March, and we're looking at some of the deadlines. If you're an undergraduate or someone who's had a year of work experience after undergraduate, the later rounds are a great opportunity to apply and showcase all of the experience that you've gathered through in the past few months, uh, compared to when you would have applied in round one, right? So St. Gallen has its round three coming up, and round four. A lot of these are falling within the next 20-25 days. So it's crucial that candidates looking for opportunities move just at the right time, and now would be that time to start considering your options, looking at universities, and starting to apply. If you're already done with the GMAT, is definitely a good idea to get onto your essays and start working on them and thrashing them out, because there will be a lot of other candidates who are doing the same. Uh, Another important thing to note here is that while initial rounds may give a benefit to an applicant by virtue of the fact that not enough people will have applied, uh, there is no set in stone criteria that if you apply later you will not be able to get in. It all depends on the quality of your application. Sure, a majority of the candidates do may be applying in the later rounds, but what that means is that your application just has to be better than them. There are still a fixed number of spots for each round, and it's better to take advantage of all of these rounds. So, for a lot of the candidates who are looking to apply right now, there are still a host of schools that are accepting applications over the next month, uh, even in the US. So, the Kellogg program, the Michigan Ross program, and the Duke program all are accepting applications right now. So yeah, that's about it on the MIM programs. If you wish to get in touch with us and have a further chat on your profile, please feel free to reach out to me. And I hope this was helpful. And if any questions, you can always reach out to us. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Nishkarsh. It was a very insightful session. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment or the chat section and we'll take them up. Now on to the process. The process, not just our process, but process in general, what it really takes for you to really write a good application. So we are going to be talking about what and how many days it really takes for anybody to pull off a great application. So there's a little journey that we have curated for our applicants to bring out the most unique application possible. This has been derived from how we work with MBA applicants and deferred MBA applicants. So you should be like getting the best of the world out there. Second, you're always working in our capacity. You're working with consultants who we like to call them as your mentors. They are graduates, alums, and candidates of top business schools, and they are currently either pursuing their MBA or they used to pursue their MBA a couple of years earlier. And they were all scholarship holders, so they got multitudinous acceptance in multiple schools, and that's how they were able to make it through. And they've helped various applicants make it to top programs, both MIM, MBA, and deferred MBA with scholarships. If you're really interested in working with us, you could schedule a call with us. Nishkarsh will be more than happy to evaluate your profile. You have the link down there. You can just click on the link, schedule a session with us, fill out a little form there. So we will be able to see that where you really stand with respect to MIM applications. If you come on board, we are going to take you through a journey. The first phase is called content gathering phase. This phase comprises of the part where you do a lot of brain dumping, brainstorming, and follow certain frameworks so that you get clarity on where you stand with respect to your application. This is the part where you talk about the foundation of your application. So we don't straight away jump onto working on your essays. We are going to make you think a little, introspect a little, and figure out why do you necessarily need an MIM? What are your goals with an MIM? What do you really want to achieve in the long run? What's your short term and long term goal? And how does it connect with your experience right now? Your experience will be your internship experiences, and you have to draw one straight line with it, considering that everything that you're trying to say or communicate in your application is completely collinear. So this content gathering phase will help you make sense of what your journey has looked like and what your goals are going to be. We are going to help you brainstorm and put all of this together via a lot of frameworks. This is the first part of content gathering phase where you will have clarity on why do you need an MIM, what are your goals, what schools should you go for, and how do those schools and how do those MIM programs help you achieve those goals in the best possible scenario, and how can you project yourself, your leadership, your strengths, your weaknesses in the best possible way. Then we move on to set 2. We are still in content gathering phase. This is a little quirky step. Some people even find it intimidating, but let me tell you why do we do what we do. So we spend time with admissions directors of top 10 business schools every year just to understand how they're gauging your applications, how they're analyzing, what they're really looking for, what the kind of flavor are they really looking for in the next cohort that's going to be joining them for MIM. One thing that we've noticed that they have a way of gauging self biases in your application. There are a bunch of psychologists sitting on the other side of the table. They can see through that when you're talking about your strengths and weaknesses. You have a lot of examples to support your strengths, but when you talk about your weaknesses, you don't have so many examples to support your weaknesses. Same thing goes for strengths and achievements. So it's important, us as your mentor, your facilitator, we need to make sure that your application comes out more and more self-bias free, because they are expecting you to be an empathetic leader in the shorter run when you graduate from the school. So in order to bring out that self-bias free application, we need to understand you from a third person perspective. For that, we are going to ask you to choose 3 really important people in your life, one personal, one professional, and the third one could be either of them. We send them a really candid questionnaire and collect some information on your personality from them. You will realize that 40% of your recommendation is going to be made up of this content. Some people are smart enough to actually already use the recommenders' names in these 3 people's list so that they can already sort of know what are the recommenders going to be talking about in their application. And might I tell you, your recommendation has to go hand in hand with your essays and your LOR. It has to be complementary with your essays, because it has to give a strong supporting evidence to make you get through to a top program that you're trying to get into. Then we move on to set 3. When we belong to an overrepresented pool, like I'm aware, a lot of IIT and a lot of Delhi University people from India are like the largest pool of applicants that apply to these MIM programs. And most of them have similar experiences, similar internships, similar grades. How do you make sure that you stand out? The only way to do that is through personality. So in this particular set, which is still in content gathering phase, but the last set of content gathering phase, we're going to put you through a personality test. And based on the results of the test, we are going to define the traits that are going to become the backbone of your application. And everything else that you've done in your life is going to hang around it as a supporting piece of evidence. Now, second part of our process is your branding. It says MBA, but it's for deferred MBA, MIM, any program that's related to management. But here, once you've done all of this brain dumping, we've gathered all the content on you, your consultant comes into picture, goes through all the content, provides you a one-page document on your MBA or your MIM brand. Why are you a fit for a management degree? So it's going to have your high-level storyline, your theme, your strategy, and your direction. It's going to have your vision, mission, and everything. So this is your go-to paper each time you're thinking about for any application. We advise not to change this too much, but stay put on that. So it also eases out the application journey that you're going to take for multiple schools, considering that you're only left with 25 days for your application. Your content gathering will only take 4 to 5 days. Ideally, we recommend a little more than that, but we have a fast track process for applicants who have very limited amount of time to go through this journey. In 5 days, your content gathering phase will be wrapped up. In 1 day, you will have your branding, and remaining days it's going to be mostly plug and play. And we're going to help you with your essays, with your LORs, with the resume. And finally, if you make it to the final round, we're going to do a lot of mock sessions. Remember that you get unlimited hours with your consultant. So even if you're thinking early rounds next year, our process and our time with you is valid for 1 full year. Your fees is valid for 1 full year. If you're interested, you can really start your journey right now, even for the early rounds and round 1 next year. So that's about the process. If you're interested, again, feel free to schedule a session with us. And if you're interested in working with us, there are a bunch of questions, like Taru from our team is going to be reaching out to all of those who are attending this session. It's going to be interesting. Either you schedule a session with us, so Nishkarsh is going to evaluate your chances, because we don't also work with all the applicants who reach out to us. We have a limited capacity. I'm sorry. We have a limited capacity and our consultants work with limited number of applicants each cycle. So if you're interested, please help us answer these 2 questions in the next 2 days. Taru is going to reach out to you with the deadline. First question is going to be, why do you want to pursue an MIM? Next one is going to be, what is your short-term and long-term goal? So based on how Nishkarsh has elaborated in the session and what MIM programs are really looking for, and based on the process and the collinearity bit that we've talked about, feel free to answer these questions. There's no wrong or right answer. It's just the approach. We want to see how you're really pursuing and what you're really thinking, how you're linking it to your why MIM answer. So based on that, we're going to pick top 3 applicants who we are going to be working with. If you want to further evaluate your profile, like I said, click on the link below and you can go and figure out a way to finally know whether or not your application is fit for MIM this year or not. All right, I think that's it. We don't have any questions. So thanks for joining us, guys. Thanks for attending this amazing. Thank you, Nishkarsh, for this amazing insights that you shared with us tonight. Thanks, everyone.